This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. Delighted as always to be joined by British boxing royalty, Ricky The Hitman Hatton. We are here in the Okolie Glowacki bubble in London. How are you, Ricky? Nice to see you.
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Enjoying being in the bubble again. Yeah, looking forward to a good show.
We were just saying off camera how, the start of the year has been a little bit of a slow start for a lot of people in boxing, myself included. How have you found the start to 2021?
Oh, fantastic, to be honest with you, yeah. I mean, I had a lad box about, 12 weeks back. My light middleweight, Brett McGinty, had his professional debut. Looked well and impressed, won. And then Ibrahim Nadeem boxed here, actually. I think that was about 5 weeks ago, something like that. He beat Phillips, which was a good test for him, and he come through that well. And then obviously we're here tonight with Brad Rhea. He's fighting Lee Cutler, 2 unbeaten middleweights, so it's a genuine 50-50 fight, but we're quite confident we're going to come through it. And then next week Gibraltar, Campbell coming up, so we've gone from nothing to being really, really busy. And it's not that bad going in the bubble. I mean, you're seeing your old boxing friends, managers, trainers, and for fighters from different stables, and having a couple of days with them, it's no big deal for me.
Let's talk about Brad Rhea versus Lee Cutler. You mentioned there, 50-50 fight. A lot of people talking about that fight this week ahead of tomorrow. Kind of indicative of the times, really, that maybe that fight is not necessarily a fight that would have been made 18 months ago, but kind of circumstances have put them together, and what a great fight it is.
I think boxing has changed a little bit, and none more so for the COVID. Big fights are being made sooner, rather than later, really. I think the days have gone when you could have, like 5 or 6 little, a few warm-up fights before you got in there. I think now the big fights are being made, and even prospects are being made to fight other prospects. Because, Brad, and I think speak for Lee as well, haven't really got a contract with anyone, so they go on what you call ticket deals, which obviously your purse is dependent on how many tickets you sell. And with no crowds being at the fights, they both had to take this chance, because otherwise, there might not be crowds out there, until September, October. So it's a fight that probably happens sooner rather than later, but it's a fight I think they both needed to take, and they both have done, so fair play to them, yeah.
You mentioned kind of boxing behind the scenes, quite a lot different to when you were in your heyday in a raucous, sold-out Manchester arena. How is it difficult, or how is it different, rather, for fighters and the psychology behind boxing without fans?
Well, it is difficult. I never top the bill in front of an empty house. It was always a ramjam. But I mean, there's a couple of times when I was a floater, when I was doing my 4-rounders, when I first kicked off my career, sometimes, there was only my mum and dad and my immediate family were there, whatever it'd be the last one at night, just doing a 4-rounder before then anyone had ever heard of Ricky Hatton. I boxed at the leisure centres, I boxed at the small hall shows when, till you get yourself established, you're the first on when it's empty house, or you're the last on when it's an empty house. So I think for the top, must be hard for the top of the bills. We're obviously used to fighting in front of a crowd, but for the lads on the undercard, I think they've been. It's not that they've not done it before. It always seems the case. You fight in front of an empty crowd when you first get your career going. Yeah.
Talk to us about the fight tomorrow night, Brad Rhea versus Lee Cutler. One of the things that's obvious is the size difference between the two. Brad Rhea towering over Lee today at the weigh-in. How important is it for him to utilise that size advantage?
Well, I think he's got a height advantage. I don't think he's got a size advantage, even though the height is there, very obvious to see. And Brad, even though he's tall and a slender type, you see him, he's very ripped, very muscle, very solid, he's absolutely walked the weight, and I think the opposition might be thinking he might gas, he's too big for the weight. No, he's done it right. He's kept in the gym, he's dedicated, put worries about what he puts in his mouth, it's always important, he never balloons up in weight, always keeps on top of things, so no, he's absolutely walked the way. He's done it really easy, and I think he's going to impress tomorrow night. It is, he sparred with Lee before. Lee's a nice kid, and they work well together. And he's a good lad and talented lad. And it is, a genuine 50-50 fight on paper. But I've had the luxury of seeing how Brad has came on in the gym and that, and how he's progressed strength-wise and technically under Blaine Eunice. So I can't see any. It's going to be a very good fight because the styles are just beautiful. class each other, and I think it is a 50-50 fight. It will be a good fight, but I think Brad will come out on top. And then, if he does do that, he puts himself in line for an English title or something along them lines. And maybe if he does impress Eddie, I think the dream for at the end of this fight for Brad and Lee, for the winner, is hopefully a contract where there's something on paper for definite fights.
Moving away from this weekend, next weekend sees the debut, of course, of Campbell Hatton, your son. It makes me feel old, so I don't know how it makes you feel ahead of his debut next week, but you must be nervous, excited. What is it?
Everything, the whole lot, yeah. Nervous, excited. I'm looking forward to it. He didn't need to go pro to make me proud of him. He was proud. I was proud of him the day he was born. But Campbell, saying, "Oh well, sorry, because." You're his dad, that's opened doors for him. Maybe there's a bit of truth to that, but I tend to think the opposite. I think he deserves a pat on the back. He's gone into the hardest game of all with a dad that, don't forgive me for saying, for a dad that achieved what I achieved. I think he deserves a pat on the back rather than saying, he's only getting these opportunities because of his dad. No, not at all. And at the end of the day, the similar thing was with our Matthew. Oh, Matthew's Ricky Hatton's brother. Matthew got his reputation off his own back. He won the European title, went the distance with Canelo. I couldn't help him with that. You know what I mean? He did that off his own back. And I think Campbell's got the ability and the right attitude and the same mentality that even though them people that are saying, well, he's only getting the opportunity because of his dad, no, they'll be eating the words in a few years. I think he's going to have a magnificent career, and I think he's going to do the family proud like I did.
We've obviously seen recently Conor Benn turn over, obviously son of a famous father in Nigel Benn, and kind of the work and the development that we've seen from him over a period of time. Last time out was by far his most impressive performance. Is that kind of the blueprint, as it were, with somebody like that?
I think there's no better example to give, because Conor, when he first went pro, he had a few little bit of an herky-jerky fights and a few little herky performances, but he stayed in the gym, he stayed dedicated, he stayed working hard. Every time I see Conor, he always picks my brain, what when this happens, Rick, what when that happens, and he's never stopped learning. He's never let, what outsiders are saying get him down, and that's what Campbell's, got to do. You're always going to get them people that are going to say, well, your dad this, your dad that, just like Conor's do. He's got to be that tunnel vision, concentrate on your own game. And look, Conor's, is on the verge now of reaping the rewards of keeping his head, and he's exciting like his dad was, and I think he's every chance of becoming a world champion. I do now, and listen, we all have speed bumps, don't we, along the way in your early fights. That's what learning is, and if you do learn from it and you improve, that's what's going to happen. I'm sorry, no doubt Campbell will have a few speed bumps, a bit of a bumpy road here and there along the way, but if he keeps faith in his ability, and Eddie keeps faith in him like he did Conor, I think it's not where you start, it's where you end up. And I think he'll get there, just like Conor and Campbell for that matter, yeah.
Very much a family affair, of course, being trained by your brother Matthew. Interesting dynamic. Obviously you're not going to be training, but you'll be kind of keeping a close eye, I would assume, with his development in his career.
Yeah, well, he wanted me involved and he wanted Matthew involved, and he worked with us both in the gym, and I think he was comfortable with both. But I think I'd rather be the manager, as a father as well, because it's handling his finances for him and making anything, that Matthew needs from a training perspective. I think Matthew's going to be a very good trainer in his own right, and I think the job he's doing, you see Campbell in the gym presently and how he's sparring, how he's improving, that goes without saying what Matthew's doing right. He's obviously working. I'm only down the road, round the corner. If Matthew wants to pick my brains, opponent comes in, he's always on the phone to me, and if I've, sorted some deal out, or we're going to do this, or we're going to do that, or something's happening, I let Matthew know and keep Matthew informed. That's exactly what it is. It's a family affair, It's, I may manage, and Matthew may train him, but it's a team effort between us, yeah.
You're one of the most beloved British boxers of all time, forgive me for saying it. We saw Conor kind of coming here and dazzle, really, in his press conference when he announced going pro. Chip off the old block in more ways than one.
Very much so. He fights like me, very exciting, body puncher, very attacking. We've fine-tuned his style a little bit now, where a little bit, you know, 'cause when I was too aggressive when I was first went pro, and I was getting cut every 5 minutes, wasn't I, you know? So I'm not saying Campbell was getting cut, but I mean, he's had to learn the fundamentals, calm down, a few little subtleties, which he's added to that aggressive side of his game. You know what I mean? He's a nice kid. He's, you know, very down to earth, confident but humble with it. And he's got a one-liner for everything. He's always got an answer for you, like someone else. I know. But no, I think I'm very proud of my son. You know what I mean? If he likes me because of my style and my attitude and my personality, and the fact that I had my feet on the ground and didn't slag anyone off, and never had a bad word, and always had a joke to tell and makes people smile and that. If you like me for that, you're going to like Campbell.
Moving on to the main event next week, Alexander Povetkin versus Dillian Whyte rematch. Always a lot of intrigue around big heavyweight fights. How do you see that one going?
I thought Dillian was boxing the fight of his life last time. I mean, we all know he can have a tear up, but he looked to be boxing very sensible, very mature, you know what I mean, picking his shots, and which is not normally like Dillian. You know, he's always in a rumble and he's always getting up, but he was boxing great, was making him miss, knocked him down, was hurting him, you know what I mean, wasn't putting all his eggs in one basket too early, because someone like Povetkin, you need to break him down with their experience, and he was doing everything right, and then it was just one punch, which sadly it can happen, but he's got his shot again pretty, soon after, to be honest, and there's no reason why. But he looks a very strong-minded guy, and confident in his own ability, that he won't be put off by the knock, his last defeat. He'll come in there more determined than ever. And if he's able to do to Povetkin what Povetkin did to him, what's that going to do for Dillian's confidence? He has every chance, if that happens, of still achieving his goal of becoming a world champion. I think he's, the Povetkin knockout set it back, but then if he knocks Povetkin out, I think he leapfrogs from a confidence, from a ranking, from a whole, he's back there again. But I don't think it needs me to tell him that if he was to lose again to Povetkin, I think that might be. I mean, listen, you can stay at it and you work hard at it, you might get there again. But I think in reality, we've got to probably say maybe he's lost his chance if he gets beat by Povetkin again. But I don't think that would be the case. I think we'll be celebrating a good win, and we're talking about the Tyson Fury fight. Maybe he can get the winner of that. Well, when they've had that fight, the belt's come vacant, and there's no reason why he still can't fulfil his dream of becoming a world champion. I think got to just get through Povetkin again. But if he doesn't, I think we might be saying goodbye to someone who's had a great career. Yeah.
Staying with the heavyweights, you just mentioned Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury there. A lot of talk about that in the last couple of weeks. We've seen Eddie say that there's a contract signed now, awaiting a date and a venue, of course. Massive fight for British boxing. Not just British boxing, but for world boxing. Yeah,
absolutely. I think it's the biggest bout in British boxing history. To have two heavyweights, the number one and number two in the division, in their absolute prime, probably coming off career best performances, both of them. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't get any better, really. And I think because of the COVID and the situation we're in, I thought we might going to lose out on the chance of seeing it, which would have been heartbreaking. But there was also, do you think the fight's going to happen? Because, who's going to get the lion's share, and whose TV channel it goes on, and who promotes it and who doesn't, and everything like that. I think there was and the COVID, there was lots of ifs. And I think a lot of people, me included, I thought maybe this won't, maybe it's not going to come off this, but thankfully it has. We don't know where it is yet, because obviously we're probably waiting near the summertime to see where we're at regarding the COVID situation. Ideally, you want a fight of that size being in Britain, wouldn't you? We're British, the biggest fight in British boxing history. You like it in Britain, but due to circumstances, it might not happen. But the main thing is, I think, I speak for all British fight fans, the main thing is it's on. And it would be a crying shame for our sport if, for whatever reason, that fight never took place. I would think it would have been a tragedy for our sport, yeah.
Now, obviously, you've worked with Tyson in the past. You know Tyson very well. Do you give him the edge in this fight?
I do give him the edge. Not as big an edge as I did give him initially, because, I mean, obviously, when AJ lost to Ruiz, and then you see Tyson slowly coming back to the forefront, you know, making the headlines, you know, with his draw against Deontay Wilder. And then when he won the second fight, you know, I thought to myself, I think he's just got the edge in every department, me. But then you saw another dynamic to another change to AJ's style, where he went in there and changed his tactics. He's thinking about his attacks a little bit more, and you know, he showed what I think we forgot, that you know, you don't get an Olympic gold medal, you don't get an undisputed world title by not having an exceptional IQ, boxing IQ between your ears. And I think that's what he showed in the Ruiz rematch. You know, that he can think and change. And in his last fight, he's just got better and better to me. And I think Tyson will spot that. You know, if I'm spotting it, and we'll all like to think we know the boxing. If I'm spotting it, Tyson will spot that. And I think you know, he knew anyway beforehand that he'd have his hands full with AJ. But I think after that last performance from AJ, I think Tyson will be. I think he'll still be very, very confident, like we all are. But no, I think it's not going to be as foregone conclusion as I think we thought 6 months ago or something. Yeah.
That first fight that you were involved with, the first Wilder Fury fight, and comparing and contrasting the styles that we saw from the first fight to the second Wilder fight with him working with Sugar Hill and Andy Lee, what a transformation! It
was, yeah. I mean, but I think when Deontay Wilder knocked him down in the first fight, and Tyson got up and won the rest of the round, and beat him up for the rest of the round, I think Tyson turned around and said to himself, I don't need to be running from this guy. Look what I did. I shouldn't have got up from that punch, but not only did I get up, I got up and filled him in. You know, so I think I get the reason why Tyson's tactics changed massively in the second fight. You know, so I mean, a fair play to him. You know, when you look back through punching history, you know, you look at knockouts, Wilder's knockout record and percentage of knockout rate. There's not many heavyweight champions in history that have knocked out people like Deontay Wilder. So to do it in the manner Tyson did, I think that was something else. But I don't think Tyson will use them against AJ. I think for the reasons that I'm talking about, he knows he can't just. I mean, Deontay Wilder is a murderous puncher, but technically he's not. He's a little bit. His houses go, you know, round, his punches go around the houses, don't they? And they're very, very wide. So I think he knows AJ can punch. He knows he's strong. He knows he's got fantastic boxing ability and a boxing brain. I think he'd go out there with a little bit more caution this time.
Final one on AJ Fury. Inactivity potentially an issue for Tyson. Hasn't boxed since last February.
I don't think so. You know, you look what he did when he had all his problems and he had all that time off, didn't he? While he was, you know, he was suicidal. You know, mental health problems, drugs problems. He had all that time off, and you know, he come back. He had 2 little comeback fights, and then went straight in with Wilder. And look at the performance he did. Now he's. You know, he's had the second Wilder, he's had the fight against Wilder, then he's had that second performance against Deontay Wilder. Yeah, he's had a bigger gap out, but he's been in his gym in Morecambe. He's been training, he's been working, he's been keeping on top of things because this is the fight he's always wanted. So you know, I don't see that. I don't see that being a problem. No, not at all.
And final question, at the end of May, we see Josh Taylor travel over, your old division that you ruled over, the 140-pound division. He goes for all of the belts against Jose Ramirez. Are we going to crown the first 4-belt undisputed champion?
I think we will do. I've always been a fan of Josh. Very, very talented, you know what I mean? He's already made history, you know, in his own right by what he's done, what he's achieved and done that. But I mean, to go over there to America and take all the belts, you know what I mean? You'll be talking about when I beat the pound for pound #1 in Costa Zoo, you know, it was one of the best in British boxing history. When Mayweather went over, you know, when I went over to fight Mayweather, 40,000, talk about that. Kawasaki beating Hopkins. That's every bit the same and more. Do you know what I mean? Going over to win all the belts. Yeah, brilliant. He'll be up there with one of the greatest achievements that we've ever had in British sport, in British boxing, yeah, without a doubt. I think he'll do it as well now.
Okay, well, Ricky, always a pleasure catching up with you. Nice to see you looking so well. Hopefully catch up with you sometime soon. If I don't see you before, best of luck next week for Campbell's debut. Always a pleasure.
No problem.